All right, welcome back to the Footy Museum and the Footy Museum podcast. I am Justin Whitty, and I am with my overly exuberant co-director, Maria Van Dykenlee. Maria, why are you so happy?
I don't care that it was a controversial win. It was still a win.
You are speaking, of course, of Leeds against the
Wolves. Wolverhampton Wolves. Actually,
no.
They're the Wanderers.
Yeah.
But they're the Wolves.
Yes, I was going to say.
Wolverhampton Wanderers.
That was
Wolves.
a wild game.
It was wild like the Wolves.
But I think there was everything in that. There was driving rain and sunshine.
There was rain and sunshine.
And a rainbow.
And it was like, who's this rainbow going to be for?
I thought the same thing. Which fan base will look back on this as a sign?
And it was just as I think the Wolves were taking a free kick. So I was like, this is bad. This rainbow is meant for the Wolves. But it wasn't.
It was a Leeds rainbow. It was the most un-Leedsy win in the world because they got 4 goals.
4. One controversial, the final one, but it was the extra goal.
And controversial calls that went their way and not against them.
I don't care. I don't care. That last call, so let's see, there was the last goal was scored by Rodrigo, and it was right after someone had grabbed a Wolves player, Adama, his jersey. And it was very clearly a foul, and they did not call it.
You know, the broadcasters and everyone was saying this is clearly a foul. But when I look at it, he did pull his jersey, but I felt like he had already kind of stopped at that point, and I don't feel like he was going to get the ball anyway. And plus, if you look at the size of that guy,
he's so big.
That tug would not have stopped him. It was more of like he's like, oh, he's tugging, so I'm going to stop and try to get the call instead of playing the whistle.
Oh.
So that's just bad form. You got to play the whistle.
He's got one of the biggest upper bodies in Premier League.
That can't be good. It's going to slow you down. Just the wind resistance.
I'm like, this is a choice. Massive. I don't think that's genetic. I think it's a choice. You have to work hard to get traps like that.
It was a scrappy game and a very good win, especially considering that your Leeds face league leading Arsenal next week.
Yeah, we're gonna lose.
You never know. You could
tie.
You could draw. You could maybe even win. Who knows?
Some
you'll probably
magical fluke. It's definitely gonna be a loss.
Oh, what else happened? The Premier League this week. We had the Champions League where Erling Haaland unleashed five goals, and then just today he had another 3 goals.
Oh, really?
In the FA Cup. So he's already broken the single season record for Manchester City for most goals. And I think most villagers eaten as well.
Mm-hmm. Most villages pillaged.
Most villages just...
He's a Viking.
Unstoppable. And then, of course, the one-time Leeds win, many of the other relegation battling teams all decided to also get points.
It's an anything can happen weekend.
Oh, my gosh. You just hope some of them would. Did any of them?
I was pretty upset by the Chelsea-Everton draw.
Well, yeah. That was not good.
Yeah.
And it looks like only Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, of course, Wolves. And I guess, Crystal Palace is now solidly in relegation scrap too. They also lost. They are winners of their last 4, losers of their last 4, which is probably why they sent Patrick Vieira packing this week. Maybe he'll come back to MLS and coach the Chicago Fire.
Oh,
because
how would you feel about that?
I would be happy about anything at this point because, we'll get to that in a minute. Not great. So, yeah, Leicester, West Ham, Southampton, and Everton all draw when Leeds gets those vital 3 points. But Leeds did go all the way from 19th to 14th.
Mm-hmm. That's just how tight it is.
Yeah. Or you could say they're just solidly middle of the table. There's
very
nothing
solid.
to worry about.
Very solid. Super solid. Nothing to worry about. Not going to jump back down to 16th, 17th next week.
Meanwhile, Newcastle bumped above Liverpool. I don't get Liverpool this year. Just up and down, all over the place. So it was a wild weekend that way. I mentioned the fire, the MLS. I'm not sure if I like this year's format. I understand with Apple TV, they like to have all the games at the same day, a lot of them the same time, so it's consistent. But then there's only like a small window. I don't get any games on Sunday. I don't get any night games. No Friday night games. But St. Louis City, 4-0.
They win again.
Their inaugural season. A team created out of nothing has broken the puzzle that has eluded the Chicago Fire for the last 15 years. But the Fire, who blew a 3-1 lead at Soldier Field, was witnessed firsthand by none other than Maria Van Dyken-Lee.
I'm still shivering. It was so cold.
What was the temperature at kickoff?
Well, it was like 20 degrees, but with the wind chill, it had to be at least 0. It was so cold. I had layered like a thermal plus my down winter coat plus my parka. And then I was wearing 3 pairs of pants and 2 pairs of thermal socks. And I still couldn't feel my toes.
Oh, if you want to see what Maria looked like, we posted a picture of her on several of our socials.
Like, oh my gosh.
And at least you were prepared.
Yes. And I did take the opportunity to buy a fire scarf.
Oh, nice.
So
what was your overall take of the experience?
It
was not a normal game day experience, I don't think.
No.
Because of the cold.
Yeah, there weren't many people there. But the fans who were there, I think, were compensating for the lack of people being there. And they were very loud.
Oh, nice.
Very passionate.
Well, you're going to get your hardcore fans on a
Yeah.
day like that.
Yeah. The band was playing strong. I noticed that the trumpets died out after a while.
Their lips probably
their
froze.
Lips and their little fingers. Like, I don't know how you press the buttons when you can't feel your fingers. But the drummer stayed drumming. That was nice. There was a Cincinnati family right in front of us that was very excited in the second half.
You may not know this, but they have blown big leads against Cincinnati regularly.
Is that a regular thing?
Regularly. And on top of that, the worst game I've ever seen the Fire play was against Cincinnati like 2 years ago.
Oh.
So I was really excited the way this game started.
But you should have known.
I think Livy said to me at one point, is like, this is going great. I'm like, yeah, well, it's within 2 goals. So for any other team, it's basically like we're down 1-0.
Uh-huh. Yeah, there was 10 minutes left, and me and Jeremy, I don't know if we just watch Leeds too much, but we were like, there's still time to lose.
And you were right.
And we were right. It's still time to tie, but definitely still time to lose.
So I would not describe it as a beautifully flowing game, but when it's 21 degrees on a bumpy pitch, but the Fire definitely had the better run of play for most of the game. And we saw goals from Kasper Shabilko, which is a great sign. Chris Mueller had a great goal to start off the second half. And what was the other first half? Oh, the penalty.
The penalty.
By Bear Claw Rafael Chios. A very clear penalty. I can't even believe that guy was trying to play it off. He basically tackled Chris Mueller in the corner of the box. And, other bright spots, I thought our young goalie, the goals were not really his fault. They were tough goals by Cincinnati.
There's
and he had some
good saves.
Yeah.
Very good saves.
But then in the about 75th minute, I don't know when, it seemed like Cincinnati made 2 key substitutes, bringing on what are regular starters for them. And the Fire just couldn't match in the substitutes, maybe because of injuries or red cards.
They've had so many.
And immediately, the impact was immediate. I have to admit, I did not see the third goal because I was, again, watching the game on delay. And that was 3-2. And then because I know the Fire, I was like, I can't handle just waiting. I have to check the score. And if, in fact, they lose or tie, I'm not putting myself through this.
It's like flipping to the last page of a book before you start reading
I couldn't put myself through it. And then I saw that it was a tie, and I just turned it off. So what was the last goal? I couldn't even watch.
What was it? Was it a corner?
Doesn't matter. It happened. The poor Fire.
by that point, I will admit I was so cold that my brain function had slowed and like words were not coming out of my mouth in the right order. Jeremy was staring at me while I was speaking and like words were coming out, but they were not in the right order.
I don't know. So what was your overall take of the stadium, the kind of surrounding elements?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been to see games like friendly matches at Soldier Field before, and it's always a good time. The stadium's fun. I love that there's indoor warm space. And we got hot chocolate and popcorn. And
nice.
it was lovely, even though I don't like hot chocolate.
But you probably did at that moment.
I drank a little bit, yeah. We missed the Fire's third goal because it was in like the 46th minute. And
yeah, it was right after that.
And we weren't back out yet because I still couldn't feel my toes. And we were waiting until I could feel my toes before we went back out. But we were out there for 99% of the playtime. Yeah, good vibes. Lovely scenery. Right on the lake. In summer, it's going to be so much fun. Okay. I already mentioned how many clothes I was wearing. How many layers? There are fools out there in like denim jackets.
Maybe they're trying to feel at one with the players. Or
Maybe.
Something.
Well, they should be running like 9 miles then just around the stadium.
They were probably from Cincinnati.
They might have been. Yeah. Fools out there in denim jackets or like wearing tennis shoes with their bare ankles showing. And I'm like... dude,
I got to make it down. When they play the return game in Cincinnati, I want to try to go because their stadium's supposed to be amazing. And maybe if I go there, they'll blow a lead.
Maybe.
With our new coach, Patrick Vieira / Jesse Marsh, the coaching tandem. I think this would be a good move for Marsh.
I think this would be a good movie.
If he came back.
Like
former player.
Yeah, I want to see this like
disgruntled out of the Premier League.
It's like a reverse Ted Lasso.
Yeah, he's clearly on a bender in Princeton right now. So like, someone's like, Jess, you got to sober up, man.
Oh no!
But where am I gonna go? You got to go back.
Yeah, go back home where it all started.
He stumbles. Oh, this team's a mess.
I don't
know if I can do it. You can still do it, Jesse.
And then there's like some spark of some like moment that he remembers his passion and remembers how to win.
Marching on once again.
Marching on together.
Marching on through the fire. Fire Marsh.
Fire Marshal.
Fire Marshal.
That's the name of the film.
That's right. The Footy Museum presents Fire Marshal and Jesse Marsh's triumphant return to the Chicago Fire with surprise ball boy appearance by Chris Armis. How'd you feel about Cincinnati's kits in person? The silver on orange. It's such a
overall impression is just orange.
Yeah,
like it's just orange. I thought the Fire kits looked really smart. They were nice.
Yeah, they're home kits.
A little French.
Yeah, they
vibe.
do a little PSG. Well, great. So you're going to be going back?
Yeah.
We should do a episode from the stadium when it's warmer.
We should. Oh, I tried recording stuff and my phone shut down because it was too cold.
So I am super excited that we have a guest today who embodies a lot of the things that we care about when it comes to football. She is a fan of the game as a player, a coach. She's also a designer by way of being a printmaker. Her work can be seen with such great organizations as the wonderful American Football League, the USL, where she did the Free to Be campaign in 2022. And she's working on so many fantastic projects, a lot of them centered around football. And I'm just so pleased to welcome Fio Bazo. It's Bazo, correct?
Bazo, correct. Thank you so much.
Fio, thank you for joining us. I came across your work through the project you did with USL, and your story really interested me as someone who sounded like a large football fan and was working in printmaking and slowly evolved into being a graphic designer, but has consciously chosen to try to do as many football related projects as possible. And so I'm so glad that I reached out to you, that you are open to speaking with us today. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Of course, of course. I love this so much. And yeah, that was a really cool project with USL. I got to work, it wasn't just all me. I got to work with the designers. I was more of a consultant and came out with the general concept, and they really like just looked to me for insight of the Pride community,
Mm-hmm.
and what it is that we would like to, use it as a platform to say something, to the fans and the USL audience as a whole. So I love that they reached out and were really, and the designers there are like so incredible and so receptive, and they did so much work as far as research and make sure everything's tight and historically correct. And it was a great experience all around.
That's great. I'm always very impressed by what comes out of USL in terms of their design. I think that they've been doing some really great work. And I'm curious for you, we were talking a little bit before we started recording about your evolution of how you became much more of a full-time designer. And I don't know if you want to share with us how that happened.
Yeah, sure. I originally, my girlfriend at a time, now my wife,
Oh,
um,
congratulations.
and thanks. It was like, I don't want to say, it was maybe 2010, and we were like, just thinking about how funny it would be to make T-shirts with like sayings that we thought were funny, or things like that. And mainly we didn't find a lot of like unisex style clothing at the time. It wasn't like as popular, and we're like, let's just do a unisex brand and design our own stuff. Neither of us knew at all like anything about what we were about to get into, but we started and we worked with a printer at first, and he helped us out with some designs, and like a couple of my friends were designers and they were helping us out, and then like little by little we started doing our own, and we would sell these shirts, and we would like do little street fairs and things like that, and like the little brand that started as a kind of like a hobby started to grow, and then I started to print my own stuff, and then design more. And then when people wanted to print their own shirts, they would ask me to design them. So that's how it started. I just designed for people and learning as much as I could on YouTube. But then I realized, okay, this is like becoming like a part-time job, then a full-time job. So I need to know what I'm doing. And so I took a few classes at SBC here in Seattle, this School of Visual Concepts, and took graphic design, and got into all the tools, learned Illustrator and Photoshop for beginners, and then moved to more advanced, and then drawing, composition, all that stuff. So, and that's how that started. And then I started like getting little design projects that had nothing to do with printing,
Mm-hmm.
and little by little, like it snowballed into now I'm just like a full-time freelance graphic designer. And it happened really slowly, but definitely with ups and downs. But I wouldn't change it. And when I started designing soccer stuff, there was like no going back. I'm like, this my two loves in one. And then like ever since then I made I was just like putting it out that I'm like a soccer graphic designer, and this is what I'm gonna do. And at the end of the day, like the stuff that I was doing was connecting with people, because I think it is like something that I am so passionate about and been involved in since I'm a kid.
Yeah,
So
let's
I don't
talk
know.
about that, because that is very clear in how you present your practice, and the projects you're working on now is very much rooted in that love of soccer. And where does that come from? How did you become such a fan?
Oh my God. Well, I'm from Lima, Peru, and the like any South American country, is the religion, for better or for worse. That's like, um and I had a sister and two brothers, and my dad was a huge soccer fan, and I played with them, with my brothers, in the after school, before school, like every single day, my whole life growing up. Street soccer, with all the neighbors and
Hmm.
their neighbors, uncles and cousins, and it was like my everyday for a long time. And looking back, I feel like I felt like soccer was like the only thing I was good at, as a kid. Like I was like a terrible student, and you know, I don't want to say a bad kid, but I was not a good kid.
I don't want to say a bad kid, but whatever the opposite
Yeah,
of that is.
whatever in between golden child and like a little terrorist, whatever's in between that. Oh
A
my god! If
golden
you ask,
terrorist. Yeah.
yeah, yes. If you ask my aunts growing up, they'll be like, "It's more like a terrorist." But um, yeah, and I got to go to the stadium as a kid a couple times for to watch my beloved Alianza Lima.
Oh, I was going to
Um,
ask who your club was. Alianza Lima. Okay.
yeah, that's my club. My whole family is like the opposite team, Universitario,
Oh,
like the
okay.
rival. But, but Alianza always resonated more with me because it was like um, kind of like the poor team, with like mostly people of color, and
Hmm.
just like always battling it out. And I don't know, I connected with them more and their
It's a bit
chants and stuff.
rowdier too, isn't it? I mean, in terms of
Oh
the
yeah, yeah,
atmosphere.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. They come from like, that area in Lima is like not so nice, and well, nice depending who you ask, right? Because like
Right.
Soria, which is like the neighborhood, is like, so rich in culture, in food, and the
Hmm.
people are amazing. But like at the time, my family aligned more with the other team, and I'm like, nah. So, after experiencing going to the stadium as a kid, even though I only went a couple times, that was enough for me. I was like, this is amazing. It was like a huge party that just brought so many people together from everywhere. And I don't know, it's just like it just takes you.
Yeah. And do you still follow them?
I I do now, but I didn't for a long time because
Okay.
after I moved to the US, I moved here like in 2001, and like any immigrant, you're like thrown into the a new world, and then you're just like trying to survive for the longest time. So I disconnected from soccer for a while
Yeah.
actually. Like I wasn't following anything, any team. I was just like busy trying to um get grounded and build that community for myself. And funny enough, it was like through playing soccer that I made most of my friends. But I didn't really follow like football on TV as much.
Well, that's interesting in that a lot of the guests we speak to actually speak about how soccer is an international language, and that is one of the reasons they love it so much, is that it is a common language, a common ground that crosses cultures and borders. And I'm wondering, when you did finally return to it, when you started watching again or following or getting maybe immersed in the very rich soccer culture there in Seattle, if you found that helped you feel more at home or helped you settle more in this new city or in this new place.
For sure. Like I was saying, like when as a kid, the times when I think back of feeling like, when people say, "Oh, you're so free as a kid." For me, those times were playing soccer with my friends and with my brothers. And when I started doing that again with people that I met here through work or through friends, it it felt like I found a part of me that I had put aside, or that I couldn't like tend to while I was like, busy trying to get a job or, save money for a car or whatever, like
Yeah.
I had like responsibilities all of a sudden. But yeah, definitely when I started playing again, I realized that I cannot leave this again. So I've been, as soon as I started, I never stopped playing. And I've played, like all the rec leagues around, like
Hmm.
level 9, level 8, level 7. There's like a lot of leagues here. So I
Yeah.
was I was lucky to find that.
And one aspect of what we do on this podcast is we focus on different countries and look at their top leagues and kind of look at the culture and design surrounding teams. And we were just recently looking at Peru, and it's a fascinating. Obviously, Peru is such a football rich country. The national teams, the national teams are very well respected. Definitely up on a level in South American teams. I know that now that the women's team, national team, is also playing regularly, I don't doubt that they'll also be up there as well. But I'm curious, when you think about the football culture in Peru, besides like your personal history with it, what else do you feel it says kind of about that country or the culture that's there? And I know it's mostly Lima based. Almost the entire league is basically centered
Hmm.
around Lima. But do you see anything uniquely Peruvian that is reflected in the culture of football there?
Well, I think it's been changing,
Mm-hmm.
this the culture in soccer there, especially in the last, I would say, 8 years. Um, I feel like, I don't know if this is unique to Peru, but for me, growing up, like the Peruvian team was like so full of disappointments, like playing against Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, when Colombia had like all the idols, and like Valderrama. It was just like, I loved how Peru played, but it always ended in heartbreak,
Yeah.
like watching Peru play. And I think the culture, because it's so connected with football, our almost like our self-esteem, is mixed with soccer. I felt like we culturally we were in a dark space for a long time,
Yeah.
and that's been changing. Like I said, like maybe in the last 10 years, since basically the coach that just left, Gareca, took over and basically brought hope to the entire Peruvian fandom. And um,
Well, yeah, I think
I feel like it's changed a lot.
in the last decade, it's been known as a team to watch out for, and the passion and creativity in which they play is pretty impressive. I was very disappointed that they lost out at the men's World Cup in the playoff against Australia. I think it would have
Oh
been
my
great to
god.
have them there. Much better than
Oh my
Australia,
god,
to
that
be
was so
honest.
traumatic. That was so traumatic. I cried at some
Oh my
bar here in Seattle, like wrapped in my flag. It was just like the saddest picture. I was like ready to celebrate, but um yeah, so yeah, it's changed a lot. And in, and in a way, I feel like since then I've been reconnecting with that culture, because like I said, I disconnected for a long time.
hmm.
And it was then that I started to reconnect, when I started to feel like we could all get behind the team, and maybe something could happen. Maybe we could go to a World Cup. I had never seen Peru in a World Cup since I was born,
Oh
until the 2018,
yeah.
until Russia. So it was so fun, and it was so incredible to just follow them little by little, watch their progression, and believe in themselves, and follow along and connect with people, even from far away, with people's passions, and like um like it felt like the sky was like opening up for us as a country, and it was like so insane to experience this alone because I don't know any other Peruvians here in Seattle really. So it was like I started to watch all the shows from Peru and follow all the national league so I can get to know the players again, and that was like really, that was a special time. And going to the World Cup, then I was just like, in heaven. I like never get up early, but I was like up at like 4 a.m. watching every game.
That's such a special
Um,
feeling. It's such a special feeling. I love that about the World Cup. Watching it when the rest of the
mhm.
world's asleep. Um,
Yeah.
but you do have one of the best current players in the U.S. domestic league in Seattle is Peruvian.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's right.
Raul Rui Diaz. Do you ever watch the Sounders or the Rain?
I do. I don't watch the Sounders as much, if I'm being honest. The
That's
Rain
fine.
a little bit more. Don't watch a lot of U.S. soccer,
Hmm.
but
I'm surprised being in Seattle. It's like kind of it's one of the hotbeds, I would say. Yeah.
yeah, and I used to a lot more, and but the Sounders I haven't watched in a little bit. I have been following, but yeah, Ruiz Diaz is here and doing his thing, and I love it. I love it. They had a huge mural of him here a few years ago, and went to take pictures with that. But yeah, it's definitely a huge thing here, and their kids have been like really amazing lately, the last couple of years. Um,
They
so yeah,
have. I really love. I loved the Purple Haze kit, and the Bruce Lee kit is also probably the best. And I would say a lot of MLS kits this year were pretty strong, but that one
yeah, so
is so
good.
pushing it. I love how far they pushed it. Um, and it's great that they're making up for their horrible field with the uniforms they wear. It's so great.
True that.
um,
Yeah, I love that the purple haze one. I thought it was so sick, and it's so good when you can connect heritage of a place, something that
Absolutely.
everyone's proud of here, and then you do a banging design like that. It's like it was so good.
Well, speaking of that, you have really in your design work, you've made a very clear choice to work on soccer or football related projects. And I'm curious how, one, how long did it take you to really establish that as your niche to work in, where you were really attracting those type of clients? But also, has it changed your relationship with what was up until that point a very kind of personal love of the game tied into your own biography and personal enjoyment, and now where it's very much tied into your livelihood and your profession? I'm wondering if it altered it at all.
Hmm. How long it took for me to niche down to soccer? I was trying to hurry, trust me, but like it took a long time. But I think like it felt like every project that I did before I started working in soccer was like just basically training for me to really focus on that. It was like I did like really small projects at the beginning, and I was just like all over it. I just wanted to do anything that related to the game, and it took like maybe I want to say like 3 4 projects from small ones for me to be like, I'm shutting this down. I'm only gonna do soccer from now on. And so it was like slow and fast at the same time because the projects didn't weren't were small, and they were but they were useful enough for me that I was like, I don't want to do anything else. Though I do design all other things,
Yeah.
but I don't put it out as much.
Yeah, you still have to pay the bills. I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
What, you know, within that field, like I'm always drawn to team badges or crests. Um,
Hmm.
I think because of the very clear restrictions that they have, it's how they're
Mm-hmm.
used is very set. There's only so many elements you can use, and there's a billion combinations that everyone has seen. So
Mm-hmm.
within those constraints, I'm always interested how people or how designers come up with new or interesting designs. And I don't know if that was something interested you, or if there was some aspect of football culture that you especially love to design for.
Yeah, to design a badge for any team would be like a dream, and at the same time, probably my biggest fear because I think anything that you do, anytime you change something so critical, like so meaningful, like a crest or
Yeah.
a badge, you're gonna get probably mostly hate. That I don't think people. It's hard for people to change. It's hard, even like when you look at design and you do any sort of like brand refresh or a logo update or like a facelift of any. It takes time
Hmm.
for people to never love at first sight, right? So um I love I love the idea, and I every time I see someone doing a rebrand for any shield, I'm like so scared for them because I know they're gonna hear it not just from people but from every commentator and from every like critic. But yeah, that's it. That's the ultimate dream, of course. And yeah, I've always loved them. I started collecting jerseys recently. This is a recent thing for me, but
It's
um
dangerous. That's a
I
dangerous
know.
road you're
I
walking on.
trust. Now you tell me. Now you tell me. It's too late. It's too late. But with that, I get to appreciate. I'm not like I don't have like a. I'm not super super loyal to like teams per
Hmm.
se. Like Peru is my number one team in Alianza Lima. But other than that, I watch a lot of Premier League and stuff. But I like to follow stories of players and
Yeah,
coaches more than anything
absolutely.
else, trajectories and stuff like that, more than like have like super hardcore loyalties to team. And that allows me to like look at kits and shields and stuff like that a little bit more impartially. Like I don't hate anyone, although you'll probably never see me in like a Man United kit or
We just recently had a diehard United fan on, but uh, I'm curious you said you don't follow specifically, but what teams in the Premier League do you have an affinity for?
Well, I love Guardiola,
Okay,
so
yeah,
um, Man City is always fun to watch, and it's like they're just like such a powerhouse, and I love their style of play. It's hard not to. I understand the hate, but like it's hard not to like them or find them so interesting.
well, Pep is
And
a very seductive personality. I think absolutely.
right, it's like hard. I love how just like he just goes for it. He's so committed to his style and makes players that are like professional grown men do what like go to the makes him play exactly how he wants him, and it's so when done right, I feel like is there a better soccer than that? I don't know, maybe I'm getting into too deep here but like
Well, if there
but I
was
just really
if there was a team, it could be in the Premier League or maybe Alianza Lima, who you if you could redesign
mm-hmm.
their badge, who would it be and what would you do?
um, well it would be Peru actually, because their badge hasn't changed that
Yeah,
much ever. Like
yeah.
it's always looked kind of the same, and I think it's the culture has changed so much that I think a little facelift would be really cool to explore. But at the same time, like I said, like really scary. I know like most of Peru would never accept anything else than the FPF and um and the flag, but I think there's like so much room to play with there, and so in Peruvian people, like the creatives in Peru are so good. I'm surprised it hasn't happened, but like you said, there's a lot of limitations to that. So
Well, there was a Ecuador did a huge rebranding. Like
loved it, loved
I
that
loved it
one.
too, but I thought it was not just their crest, which I think is phenomenal,
Mm-hmm.
but their kits for the World
Mm-hmm.
Cup were so beautiful, and it was so thoughtful. And I don't know if you saw it, the way they released the 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 redesign was just through this
Oh
video,
yeah,
animated
the
video.
video explanation. Yes,
Oh, I
so
thought they
good.
nailed it. And I was surprised because I saw that and I was like, they nailed it. They just killed it. This is perfect, especially as that team is really coming into its own. Um, and then people still hate on it. They still hate on it.
That's what I'm saying. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like you cannot do a good job here. Like it's not, it's impossible to create something for a whole country to like that's so used to what they like, for better or for worse, but I thought they nailed it. I was so impressed, and like, Peru and Ecuador, like a little bit of
The
a
little bit of
rivalry
tension
there.
there. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, and I was like, no, their whole rebrand, like their social media, they did such a good job, and I thought it was super smart, the way they incorporated their elements, and now how scalable it is now, and
Yes.
you can, yeah, I think, of course, it's gonna get hate now, but or when it got released, but I think in like the next, like 20 years, like they're not gonna need to change that
If they don't back
that shit.
down, I
Yeah,
think it will really last. Absolutely. And
I think it's gonna be really successful.
speaking of that knowledge of people's fear of something different or anything that kind of pushes the edge,
Hmm.
um, in relationship both to soccer but also design, I think that in design, like when you're playing at a game or watching a game, you get a sense at certain moments when things have to be pushed, when things have to
Hmm.
be need to go all out. And I'm curious, as a designer, when you come up against that very strong sense and understanding that action has to come, but there's that also understanding that there's going to be an opposition because of the fear of something different on the other side of it. How do you balance
Hmm.
that as a designer, especially as a designer who loves a sport so much that is also about really pushing through those gaps? You know what I mean? Those opportunities, and embracing kind of that spirit. How do you balance that? How do you balance the fact that you need to have clients, but also keeping that kind of fire of the new alive in what you do?
Yeah, can you answer that? How do you balance that?
I don't know.
Like-
I don't know. And I always ask that. I think you have to keep doing it is really the only answer. I think it's not a balance. It's like you have to
yeah, it
be
is a balance.
be
You're right.
like
It is.
firmly planted and push that and know there'll be that pushback and
There's always gonna be that push and pull, always, no
mhm.
matter what you're doing, what you're designing, whether it's the game or it's just like so interesting because I feel like in design, it'll you have to push the design, you have to push people, you have to push yourself, and be willing to um, just. And it's funny because sometimes you can be like really sure of yourself on a
Mhm.
design
Mhm.
decision and be completely wrong, and or it can be completely ignored, or like people won't like it or accept it, and even though it's the right path, and it's balancing, I think, um, learning how to communicate it in a way that the best way that you can, so it can be seen for what it is, because a lot of the times I feel like you can create something that just doesn't get you don't sell it the right way, and then that's the end of that.
Mhm.
There, there you only get so many chances to impress, especially when you're working for a client for like a one-off is one thing, but when you're in a company and you have to present designs constantly, you have to build that trust through every project that you present, then I think it's easier to learn. But when you're doing like a rebrand, or like even like creating a logo from the beginning, then you only get, so many chances to sell your work in the way that it needs to be sold, or explaining why you made certain decisions. And I think that's like something that you'll never stop like learning.
Yeah. And I think it's a awkward balance of being brave, but also staying comfortable so you can kind of hear your instincts as you go. Well, Fio, this has been an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed speaking with you and getting to know you a little bit. And I'm so glad that you agreed to come on the pod. And I'm wondering, before we go, if there's any projects you want to share that you're working on, or anything that we can look out for that you're involved with.
I'm still doing work for Kickoff Coffee Co. I don't know if you've heard about them.
Yeah, I saw it, and I was looking at the work you did. It's great.
Yeah, they're like a coffee company that's really gonna push it this year, and they have exciting things coming up. And on a personal level, I'm starting this little company. I wouldn't say I'm curating a museum per se, but I'm curating I'm going to try to curate an Instagram account for soccer clothing. And so I think, I buy everything I wear is soccer. So, and sometimes it's hard to find. So I feel like it'd be cool to have a little space where you can see everything that's out there, or start curating some sort of catalog, if you will, or lookbook of everything, all the artists or brands or local teams that have like cool soccer merch that people can easily find and support. I'm going to be launching that in the next week or so. It's going to be called For Club and Country.
For Club and Country. Okay.
And so right now it's completely empty, but I'll start. I've been working on it for a little bit, but it should be live hopefully in the next few days. And yeah, so back to I miss printing, and I miss printing soccer things. And since I can't do that anymore, I just want to like make sure I know everything that's out there, and put it out there for people to check out, and so it's easy for them to support the brands that are out there doing killer, soccer designs.
Oh, that's great. I look forward to checking it out. Thank you again. And if people want to see the other work that you're working on, what's your website address again? It's
fiobazo.com.
All right. That's a tough one. That's a hard one to remember.
I know. And just like my Instagram, I'm really bad at posting things, but Fio Shmio is my Insta handle, but don't get too excited.
All right. Well, Fio, thank you so much
for having me, man. This was so fun, and like I look forward to going and checking out the Foodie Museum someday.
Yeah, I can't wait to have you. Maybe we'll feature some of your designs. Who knows?
Ooh, now we're talking.
Okay. Well, thank you again. And I will let you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Same. Yeah. Feel free to edit everything. All the all the I knows, all the.
I'll just leave that. It'll just be you praising Pep. That'll be it. Just another bandwagon City fan. That's what
I know. I know. All that oil money. I can't help it. But yeah, well, tell Maria I'm bummed that she didn't come in with all her leads, chants and stuff, that I was looking forward to hear that.
Oh yeah.
Maybe next time.
Oh, she's having a tough time. Okay. I will. All right. We'll talk again in the
thanks
future.
So much,
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
All right. Bye.
Wow, that was great. I know Fio really missed talking to you, Maria. She wanted to hear, as she said, she wanted to hear your Leeds chants and maybe do a little Premier League banter.
I'm bummed I had to miss that interview, but I'm so glad that you got a chance to talk to her. It was super interesting.
Very interesting. Even though she's a Manchester City fan, she's still pretty decent. If you want to check out more of Fio's work, you can go to our website, where we will have links to her work there, and also where you can follow her. And that about does it for this week. Do you have anything you're looking forward to for the next week?
Looking forward to destroying Arsenal.
Oh, watch out.
Yeah, that
watch
rainbow is going to turn into a double rainbow.
That's right. Gunners in trouble. I think that they're going down for sure. 6-0. I'm excited to talk with you again this week, Maria. And I just want to remind everyone, if you like this podcast, please make sure to like and share it. Also, check out our website, thefootymuseum.com. As Maria and I are preparing and organizing exhibitions we will be making available to travel, we also have been posting columns, and that's also where we share our podcast, and there's a lot of fun things there. So go to thefootymuseum.com. And what did you write about this week? I thought that was interesting. You followed up on your Peru episode.
I did, because last week we talked about similarities between different club crests in Peru, and we only touched on a couple teams with all the same design, but there are more. There are more similar designs, so I touched on that a bit.
Check that out. And I'm working on a story, what if relegation was based on design? Who from the bottom 7 teams would go out?
Leeds.
Well, it includes atmosphere, so Leeds is safe. But I have to say it doesn't look so good for some other teams. All right, that's it. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Let's hope so.
All right.